Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I myself am having a great day. I just saw the Street Profits won the Tag Team Championships on SmackDown, and that got me thinking, who are going to be the people to dethrone them? So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about all the next champions for every single title in the WWE. Now, some of these title changes may happen as close as next week. Some of them may happen at Mania. Some of them may happen a year from now. We don't know. But I just want to say who I think is next in line for the opportunity to be that champion. Now, before we get started, please hit the like button and that subscribe button to help grow this channel. And if you have an idea on who's going to be the next champion, please leave it down in the comments. I'd love to see what kind of wavelength you guys are on and if we kind of match up in our answers, or if you have a totally different idea and you might sway me to think that same way. So if you could, please leave your comments down below. So to be honest with you guys, I don't watch a whole lot of NXT. I've only recently been keeping up with the main event pictures on that brand and also the TNA crossovers. So I really don't feel comfortable giving a prediction for the Heritage Cup because I just don't know enough about the actual championship itself and all the rules that go along with it. And I also don't know a lot of who's in contention for that, who's always around that scene. So I do want to apologize. I promise that'll be the only one that I don't include. So next up we have Fraxium, Nathan Frazier, and Axiom. Now, it's been the better part of a year that these guys have held the titles, so I do think their title reign will come to an end pretty soon, and I do think it's going to be to the Hardy Boys. Now, I know they just wrestled, and it was for the TNA titles, so the Hardy Boys did take the victory, but I do think that WWE would be willing to do a special moment, especially around Mania weekend, where you have the Hardys become champions once again in the WWE brand, but it's also for a championship they've never won. I think Fraxium would be delighted just to do such an honor to do that for the Hardys, and I think it'd be a special moment for fans. I don't think the Hardys would hold the titles very long. I think you would have an up-and-coming heel team beat them in a shock victory and take the titles from there, but I think it'd be a really cool moment for fans to see. Next up, we have the North American Championship for NXT's men, and that is being held by Shawn Spears at the moment. Now, Shawn Spears only won the title just 9 days ago, so I don't think he's going to lose it anytime at this moment, but I don't think he's going to have a super lengthy run. You might get maybe 2 months out of him, but I think he's going to end up dropping it to a hot baby face, and I think that baby face is going to be Javon Evans. Javon Evans has been tearing up lately. He's even been flirting with the main event scene, but I think right now with such a dominant NXT champion in Obafemi, you're going to have Javon Evans win the North American title just so he can get some gold and get some momentum. And I think that's going to propel him all the way up until next year's WrestleMania, where we might be thinking of Javon Evans moving up to the main event. So next up, I want to talk about the NXT Women's North American Championship and the NXT Women's Championship. Those are both being held by Stephanie Vaquer right now, as she just won the NXT Championship from Julia, who went away with an injury. So this is kind of brand new territory. I feel like we're getting like a clean slate with storylines with Stephanie Vaquer. And there's tons of possibilities that could happen for her titles. You have contenders that could be coming for the North American Championship, like Jada Parker. You still have Fallon Henley in the mix. And you also have a Kalani Jordan who's still up and coming. And then, of course, you have a looming Cora Jade. Now, as we know, Shawn Michaels is down there cooking up all kinds of crazy stuff for the women's division at NXT. So I really don't know which way he could swing things. But if I have to make predictions now, I think the next North American champion is going to be Jada Parker. I think Jada is at that mid-card level. She's rising up. She's getting a lot of buzz online. A lot of it because, people are simping for her looks. But, I'm not going to get into that. But she is getting a lot of momentum. And I think as far as the NXT Women's Championship, I think she's going to hold that longer than the North American Women's Championship. And I don't know if she holds it for Julia to come back and win, or if you give it to Cora Jade. But with my prediction right now, I'm going to say that Stephanie is going to drop that title to Cora Jade sometime during the summer. Next, we have the NXT Men's Championship. Now, this is currently being held dominantly by Obafemi, who's been a dominant champion already with the North American Championship. And now he is the NXT Men's Champion. Now, truthfully, I don't know who is set to take over for him at this moment. You could argue that Ethan Page has already been there. He's already been champion, but he needs another reign. And then we have new to NXT, Ricky Saints. However, there's one guy that sticks out to me, and he's been with NXT now for a couple years, and he's even beat Obafemi. I'm, of course, talking about Tony D. I think it's very realistic that you could book him to beat Oba once again, simply because he has a whole mafia around him. Now, is it overdone already because we just did that? No. I think you can get away with it again because it's already worked. You have a storyline to build off of. And if you want to put Tony D right there at the top, you make him a fantastic heel champion. with a bunch of heaters around them, and you can get one over on the big monster babyface champion. And not to mention, you can build Oba back up to win that title once again and finally get his win back over Tony D. Next, we have our Speed Championships. First up for the women, our champion currently is Candice LeRae. She's been the only champion for this belt. And honestly, I forget this belt even exists because I don't really get on Twitter all that often. I'm sorry, X. I think for the women, you're going to put it on Zelina Vega. And then for the men, the current champion is Dragon Lee at the moment. I think the next person that's actually going to beat him for that title is going to be Pete Dunne. Now let's talk about tag teams on the main roster. We're going to start off with the Women's Tag Team Championships, which is currently held by Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. Now they just recently won the titles not too long ago, so I don't see them dropping it at the moment anytime soon. So I'm just going to take a team that we haven't even seen on TV in a long time, and I'm just going to assume they're going to be the next ones to win the Tag Team Championships. And I think that's going to be a Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I think they'll start up the Wyatt Six angles, and I think you take those two women in that faction, you put them against those two women in the Judgment Day faction, you're going to get faction versus faction, but I also think the Women's Tag Team Championships will be changed over to Bliss and Cross. Next, we have the WWE Tag Team Championships for the men on the SmackDown brand, which was just won tonight by the Street Profits. Now, I don't think the Street Profits should drop these titles for some time. Now, when it is time for them to drop the championships, I think they're going to drop it to Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. I'm not quite sure when Tonga will be back from his injury that he suffered at War Games, but this does give enough time for the Profits to have a good championship run, and I think we'll see them be dominant champions along that run. Next up, we have the Men's World Tag Team Championship titles. Those, of course, being held right now by the War Raiders, and I think they will drop those around WrestleMania time to the New Day. The New Day are heels now. They need some more legitimate wins as heels, and I think they have a tag title run coming their way. I think it's going to be as early as Mania. If it doesn't happen then, it definitely will happen soon, and I do think they will be the next ones to hold those titles. Then we have our Women's U.S. Championship that's currently being held by the first ever winner, Chelsea Green. I think Chelsea's still got a couple more months with this title, especially when you're building up a stable around her with Piper Niven and Alba Fire. But I think this is all being built towards a monster babyface run by Jade Cargill, who's going to sweep in, take this title, hold it for a few months until she's ready for her main event feud with Charlotte Flair in the next coming year. Next, let's talk about the Women's Intercontinental Championship held by Lyra Valkyrie at the moment. So right now I'm predicting that there's going to be a triple threat at Mania between Roxanne Perez, Bayley, and Lyra for the Women's IC Championship. And the whole build will be around Lyra defending at Mania, Roxanne becoming a main roster member and immediately making an impact, and of course Bayley winning a championship she has yet to win in her historic career. But I do think that Roxanne is going to be the one to walk out of Mania with that championship and be your next Women's IC Champion. Then we have our Men's United States Championship held by LA Knight, who just won this a week ago against Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't think this is going to be a lengthy reign, however, because I do think LA Knight is going to drop the belt at Mania, and I think he's going to drop it to a member of the Bloodline, not Jacob Fatu, but Solo Sikoa. I think Solo had a great year last year, and I think he's set to have some kind of championship reign, and you can stretch out the storyline between him and Jacob even longer to make fans really want to see Jacob take down Solo, probably at SummerSlam, and I think that's a great storyline to build towards, and I think you do that by having Solo win the championship first. Next, let's talk about the men's IC title, and its champion right now is Braun Breaker. Now, Braun has held this title now for over 100 days, and he looks to keep going and be a dominant champion. The person I think he will lose it to down the road, possibly as far down as SummerSlam, is unfortunately Logan Paul. Now, Logan's already been a champion. He's been a United States champion in WWE, and he held that belt for quite a while last year, and I think he did a fantastic job. You know, he didn't have to be at TV every week to make the title still mean something, and he did a great job of putting that belt out there. Everywhere he was, he tried to make it a point to show off that title, and that benefited the company, and I think they're going to do that again, but with the IC Championship. All right, and now we're in our four big championships, our women and men's world and WWE titles. So we're going to start off with the women's WWE title currently being held by Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany is set to take on Charlotte Flair at Mania, and there's a lot of speculation that Charlotte will walk out of Mania as champion. And I have to agree with them. I do think Charlotte's going to walk out of Mania with the championship, but I think this is a good thing for Tiffany because I think it's going to help her become a better babyface. She's only recently become a babyface because the fans wanted her to be one, essentially, so they booked her as one. And I think this is going to give her something to drive her, propel her forward for fans to get behind. You know, she's going to be fighting her way back to that championship spot. And I think the summer is going to be nothing but Charlotte and Tiffany matches going back and forth. I don't know if they're going to alternate the belt, but I think right now it's going to be better if Charlotte is champion to start off that program. Next, we have the Men's World Heavyweight Championship, currently held by Gunther. Now, Gunther is slated to take on Jey Uso at this year's WrestleMania, and I do believe that Jey Uso is going to win the title at Mania. There's a lot of criticism about Jey Uso out there right now, but you can't deny how over he is with fans, especially casual fans. They're going to put the title on whether you like it or not, and I think it's going to happen at Mania. Next, we have the Women's World Title, currently being held by Io Sky, who just won this belt last week at Monday Night Raw after defeating Rhea Ripley in a pretty surprise victory. I don't think a lot of people saw that happening, especially with the build-up of Mania going on right now and Mania just being around the corner. I think we all knew that Io was going to be in the title picture for Mania, but we just didn't think she would be a champion going into Mania. And I do think it's going to be a triple threat match at Mania between her, Rhea, and Bianca. So to make a prediction on this is kind of hard right now because, for one, Io just won this belt. Do you want to make her a transitional champion, or do you want to actually give her another run being a world champion? And what better way to do that than to have her beat two of the top women in WWE at this moment? Do you put the belt on Bianca, who we still don't know if she's on Raw, if she's on SmackDown, what her situation's like with Jade? Are we going back to that feud? We don't know yet. Or do you put it back on Rhea, who has been in the championship picture for the better part of 3 years now? Now, due to the events that happened on Raw not too long ago with Rhea and Bianca kind of being at each other's throats, I kind of would like to see that as a program, and I don't think it needs the championship belt. So I think you could carry on this program after Mania, carry it into the summer. I think Io's going to need someone else to feud with, and we've already seen them have a couple matches already, her and Liv Morgan. I still think we're going to see a lot more, and I do think that Liv is going to have a title program with Io, and at some time in that program, Liv is going to become champion once again. And lastly, we have the Men's WWE Championship, currently being held by the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Now, Cody is set to defend his title against a heel John Cena at WrestleMania, and many are speculating that John Cena could get that record-breaking 17th win at Mania. Now, I don't know if he's going to get this belt at WrestleMania, but I do think this new heel persona is a shoo-in to become a WWE champion for John Cena, whether it's at Mania or any of the months to come. All right, guys, so that's just all my predictions for the very next champions in WWE. Let me know your thoughts on the matter. Do you think some of my predictions could come true? Do you think they're just totally stupid? Let me know your predictions as well. Go down in the comments. Let me know. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to write. And I appreciate you guys watching as always. And just a reminder, please leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. And for all you gamers out there, I am starting a series with WWE 2K25. Right now, I have just put up my first episode of My Rise, where I'm taking my character through his career as he starts at WWE. So if you're interested in seeing that video, it is right here. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching. Please take care.